Welcome back to 2MoreTakes.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, my name is Jack.
My name is Joe.
That's how we do the intro. Hey, it rhymed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess then we're back. We're approaching, I guess, the middle of the blockbuster season. We're nearly there. We're one more film away, and we'll be right in the middle. But this is the end of the Goldblum trilogy.
Yeah, the Goldblum trilogy, my favourite.
How have you been, Joe, during all this?
No, right. I've been enjoying these podcasts so far. You know, we've had some good ones and some weird ones, but it's going all right.
Yeah. All I can say is that I really enjoyed our Jurassic Park one. This one's going to be another interesting one, I think. Not as crazy as the last one, just because that was such a weird sort of like weird revisit, weird bit of nostalgic. I guess shock. I was shell shock. It was like the beaches of Normandy, and I was Tom Hanks, and you were trying to pull me out of this weird sort of shell shocked state about cats and dogs. And meanwhile, it's raining cats and dogs everywhere, and people are losing their limbs and stuff. But anyway, we're not talking about Steven Spielberg film today. We're talking about Ghetto Steven Spielberg, bargain bin one.
Yeah.
We're talking about Roland Emmerich. And his infamous film Godzilla. Or was it Stargate? No, it's Independence Day. No, wait, no, it's The Day After Tomorrow. Sorry, I always get confused because they're all the same.
They are... He's known for many a film, mostly disaster films, right?
Yeah, pretty much that's just his brand. I think he started... Actually, I don't know what he started with. I think it probably was with something like Stargate or something. Okay, he started off with something called Franz Man and Wild Whitby. I've never seen that before. He was director of Noah's Ark, Principal, and Joey. That I'd never heard. Yeah, okay, so basically he did nothing but obscure garbage. Until Universal Soldier. That's his first sort of action film, and then it was Stargate, Independence Day, Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then it's just more recent stuff. Oh, he did 10,000 BC as well. Oh, that explains that.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess today we're talking about Independence Day specifically, though. But it is I think the. If you were going to call something I guess the personification of his style, I guess it's the Webster's Dictionary example of what a Roland Emmerich film is. It's his magnum opus of diarrhea.
I mean,
I won't deny that it's a fun movie, but I gotta be honest. I think this is one of the dumbest movies out there, and I think that it's one of the films that single-handedly destroyed cinema as we know it.
Half of the movie is quite dumb, especially probably
half of it, Joe.
No. I think half of it's actually done pretty good, in my opinion.
I think as a film, being made technically, as
No.
The film being produced and constructed and being made, I would agree with you. It's very well made. It's a very well made film. The effects work is all pretty good, but the problem is it's all in service to a story and to characters that aren't. It's the best way I could explain it.
I wouldn't go that far.
There is a story, but it's not like a non-story. I think the characters are kind of non-characters, but the story is there. It's just it's written with nothing remotely intelligent in mind. There's a lot to unpack with it, really. But I guess beforehand we'll give a brief synopsis of what happens.
Okay.
You should give your thoughts before we do that.
Well,
I've always my little tangent.
Yeah, I've always liked. Here's the thing. As I said, I believe when we did Jurassic Park, I'm always a big fan of disaster films, especially when I was little. I know a lot of them are really stupid and some of them are really bad. But that's kind of how a lot of disaster movies are. You need the plot to have holes in to have the action of the disaster happen.
Yeah, but usually in those films they also have writers and characters in the scripts
I quite like some of the characters in Independence
I
Day.
like the actors. I don't think they're playing any characters.
But
Like, I mean, Jeff Goldblum
Goldblum's Goldblum.
He's cut. Well, the thing is, I think he's, compared to the other films we've done so far, like, he's such a character in those. In this one, I will say, like, it is, I guess, a pro in Goldblum's sort of, I guess, his favor, that he can vary up his performance a little, but I do think that isn't necessarily the best, like, accolade I could give him. Like, he's different in this film than he is in the other ones. Like, he's pretty zany in the other ones. He's particularly zany in Cats and Dogs, and he's more sort of charismatic and sort of, I guess, like, lecherous in Jurassic Park. But I at least remember those characters, I feel like in this film, he's just being, like sort of, paid actor. He's a working actor in this film. He's not really doing anything. And you look at, like, Bill Pullman, who's another main lead, and he's just, like, I mean, he's just so bleh. I think the only person who brings any sort of charisma to the film is Will Smith. He's fantastic to watch in this film, because he knows exactly what's going on, and he's just having a blast. And that's what usually Jeff Goldblum is doing, but in this film, he's taking more of the straight man role, whereas, like, Will Smith he's the sort of, like, every time he punches that alien in the face, I laugh.
Yeah.
Like, my dumb monkey brain laughs.
I mean, I think Will Smith is definitely one of the main, because I think a lot of his scenes are, like, the comedic scenes. There's the one with the wedding ring as well, I can think of, where it's...
Well, yeah, and that one hasn't aged fantastically.
Why not? I actually quite like that.
Well, because it's not the actual deed between the two of them. It's the guy who walks in and goes, "Whoa, I'm just gonna leave because I don't do the gay stuff."
I mean, no, it's more
I
just
don't deal with gay. But the thing is, that's it. That's all the joke has. It's okay. It's a tableau, and then neither of the two of them seem to address it. It's just like, okay, we just set up this so that it looks funny, so that the 90s audience can go, "Ha ha!" It's like they're gay.
Well, no, it's not even. I don't even consider the fact that they're obviously you would assume, but no, it's like I'm more like, oh, the guy walks in, it looks like the guy's just proposing to each other, and he's like, oh, didn't mean to interrupt, rather than just, and then they're like, no, we weren't doing
he's like smirking as if he's like, like, haha, there's some gay people there, I'm gonna walk out.
That's not how I saw it. I didn't see it as a. I mean, it can be seen like that, but I don't.
It's not the most homophobic thing in the world.
I didn't go in depth with it.
It's not like an ingenious joke. I do think that if I was going to, like, rate the jokes in this film, that would be, like, bottom tier for me. I think there's some better ones in there.
No, there are better. I'm just saying that there's a lot of...
Like, Judd Hirsch is quite funny when he's talking about, like, when he's mocking his own son. That's, like... that's entertaining, because he's like, hey, on HBO, they call you. It's
yes.
There's some memorable lines from him, but yeah, and his character, to be fair, though, is just like, it's just like, okay, he's overtly, like, to the point of, like, stereotype, just Jewish. Yeah. I mean, Judd Hirsch is in real life, I believe, but, like, he's ridiculously so in this one, like,
a little bit. But again,
it's like his main character defining trait is that he's Jewish. It's even at the end when it's another sort of, like, one-liner from his nobody's perfect. It's perfect when the sort of the weird CIA guy's like, I'm not Jewish, and he's like, nobody's perfect. It's like, again, my monkey brain can accept that and so be like, it's another witty line, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I find that a lot of the humor... Well, to be fair, like, some of the jokes... Like, for instance, with those two characters, the pilot characters... I don't know if it's the joke in the scene before or after that. It might be just before, or right after, when his buddy he's like, hold me and stuff like that, and he's, like, fooling around. Because, as well, it's like, okay, I can understand that, like, as an abstract, this could be seen as funny... But you've also got to put it in the context of the film itself. The scene before, all of the cities like that we've been introduced to have been destroyed. Will Smith's family might be dead. Okay, so you have the two characters like joking around with each other, right? Those two pilot characters, and you obviously have like the wedding ring bit we've talked about, but you also have them like in the boardroom or the meeting room, like while they're being briefed on the mission. And this is, by the way, this is right after, like edited in the film, right after LA and all the other cities have been fucking obliterated. And his Will Smith's buddy's like, hold me, and then he gets interrupted. He interrupts the meeting. He goes, "Is there something I want to say, Captain?" And then Will Smith's like, "Oh no, man, I just want to go whoop E.T.'s ass right now. You know, can't wait to do that." Everyone's laughing, and I'm like, guys, a few miles away, like fucking hundreds of thousands of people have just died. A city has been leveled, and you guys are like fucking joking around and doing like the sort of Top Gun wingman stuff. It's like, guys, fucking context here. What the like? Okay, I could see like the buddy jokes sort of working for some people, but even in that scene, it's just like it's so out of place because of the way that either the scene has been edited out of sequence and it was filmed with the idea of, okay, this happens before it's been blown up, but in the briefing room, I'm pretty sure they say that the city has been blown up, and that's why they're sending them in. It's like,
yeah, I mean, it's sort of they're playing off that soldier stereotype where, like, you know, soldiers are just cocky, they don't really care, they're just there to fight things.
But then that's completely subverted when Buddy Pilot panics in his cockpit
I know.
when they're flying through the gulch, because he's like jokey sort of smart-ass character, and then he just sort of panics, and then he takes off his mask for no reason. Like, that scene, when I was rewatching it, was really weird, because it seemed like, okay,
it a little bit weird.
What the hell is going on? Why is he pulling up? Why is he taking off his mask? And then why doesn't that alien ship come back and face off against Will Smith? Because the other one keeps following, obviously, but then they like... There's like it's like little, that's like a little nitpick thing, but the thing is that, like, okay, I understand that nitpick comments when it comes to films, like CinemaSins, for instance, it's not really real criticism. That being said, when you have like a film completely comprised of things that you can nitpick, it's like that game with the board game with the monkeys and like the little like sort of plastic strips that are in the tree. Like, it's like that. You pull out all of these little bits and the entire sort of believability of the story for, I think, some people can completely fall out from the bottom. Because a lot of it's just plot contrivances, and you can afford a few of those in your film. Like, your film doesn't have... Your film or your film script doesn't have to be perfect. Your characters don't even have to be perfect, okay? That's an unrealistic aspiration. It's one to aspire to if you're, a filmmaker who wants to push the envelope. But I can understand it. It's like, okay, well, it's not like... You can't, like, lambast a film for just, like, having a few issues with its characters or its script. But it's the sheer quantity in this film where it's like, okay... not to mention that there's also, like... It's like the comment that you guys would give me about... Or the criticism you guys would give me about our D&D campaign when we were at university. Is that it's like, Jack, there's too many fucking characters this week. You got to tone it down, buddy. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. It's like this film has way too many characters.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree that Independence Day is a weird one because it does flip back and forth very easily between this is meant to be a serious scene to this is just a load of fun, and it's like it does. I definitely does that. It definitely has.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets that balance correct as well. Is that's worth saying? Is that sometimes like it does work. I think when like Will Smith is punching the alien, knocking it out, and pulling it in his like shoots,
dragging
that's
your
good.
Heavy ass through the burning desert.
That's fitting, I feel. But there are some where it's just like, okay, this is completely antithetical to what's going on.
No, see, I think Independence Day definitely has some bad bits, but I also think it does have some sections that are actually pretty good, is all I'll say. Because
Yeah, I think in terms of set pieces, it's definitely like here's the thing. When I'm like this, I need to sort of address this. Is that when I'm criticizing this film right now,
yeah,
this is Jack in critic mode. This is not Jack in like sort of entertaining, watching an entertaining sort of like dumb action movie thing. Because although we're doing blockbusters on this list, I have to think about it like a critic. There's varying degrees. Like Jurassic Park, on an entirely different level from this film. Like, this film is comprised of that. It's like, okay, Will Smith, he got a letter from NASA. That means he wants to go into space. It means that he goes to space. Forget the fact that NASA is comprised of scientists and not pilots, but, it's just a small... it's like little things like that. It's like this film... Ironically, it's like this film was made by an extraterrestrial... like not a national alien, but an international alien, like a planetary alien. Because obviously I know that Roland Emmerich is not American. He's a foreign filmmaker who came and decided it was making American movies. That's his whole sort of shtick. And I think he inspired a lot of filmmakers from abroad in many countries, like your Tommy Wiseau's and stuff like that, to come over and start making their own films because he proved that you could do that. And that as a sort of, I guess, from an immigration angle, that's quite an inspiring thing. It just so happens that he doesn't really make intelligent films. He just makes sort of dumb fun. Something that would be so minor in a Steven Spielberg film is blown up to full-on proportions in a film like this, where it's like, there's so many... going back to what I was saying about Roland Emmerich, I think that Roland Emmerich doesn't understand... I think it is like the Tommy Wiseau situation where he doesn't understand a lot about things. Like, he doesn't understand what NASA does, or I think it's SETI, which is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence organization or something. That's where they get the initial broadcast from the radio signals. But he doesn't understand how that works, because there's just a guy who's waiting there all hours of the day. That probably wouldn't happen, because it's probably all automated even back then. So you just come in like once a week, or every it's like twice a week or something. You review the data, or you take it out. You go to a different place to review the data with a whole bunch of people, with some computers, and you probably wouldn't assume like one signal is evidence of aliens coming to say hello. But besides that, so he doesn't understand how NASA works, and then most of all, because it's a running theme in the film, he doesn't understand how chess works. Yeah. It's quite amusing in a strangely sort of entertaining way to think about how he thought of chess when he was sort of like directing the film, and no doubt probably it was either it was written by him and a friend, like I think the producer or something. So he had influence on the script. I think he always does, which is why they're all so similar as films.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely tell that like he thought of like a chess metaphor, and he's like, this will be so ingenious. Like it's like that. It's like what I experience when I try and write a script or write something for like a book, like at 3 a.m. when I'm like sleep deprived. It's like, this is gonna be ingenious. I wake up the next morning, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like you go in for the second draft, and you're like, okay, this makes no sense. I got to change this. But it's like, okay, the chess metaphor, okay. It doesn't work with the aliens, because chess is the assumption that you are battling an equal opponent on an equal playing field with the exact same resources, and you don't move all at once. Like he says, they're positioning all their pieces at once. You don't do that. You do it one at a time. So, not to be a chess sort of connoisseur nitpicker, because I'm fucking not a chess connoisseur. I'm a dum-dum. I can barely play that. I played drunk chess the other day with my friend Alex.
Yeah.
We were drinking whiskey after a sort of homebrew sort of beer festival. And we were absolutely blasted. And he said, oh yeah, we'll bring out the whiskey and play some chess in my living room. And I said, sure. That was a fun evening that I came to regret in the morning. But yeah, for about maybe like 5 minutes at the end of the game, we were just like with 3 pieces each or something. Like we were just going back and forth, like it was a stalemate, until like he accidentally put me in checkmate, and we just like noticed at one point by complete accident.
Yeah.
That's my comprehension of the sport of chess, the game.
I mean,
but it's still higher than fucking Roland Emmerich, who seems to think that it's like checkers. even down to the disc-shaped objects.
No, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this film, because I always remember Goldblum saying checkmate, and I'm like, that's a cool concept. But yeah, if you think in depth about how chess works, you can pick it apart. But
that's surface level for me. Thinking about chess is like like okay, the checkmate line. It's cheesy and like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator. Haha, Predator.
Yeah.
That's gonna come up later. But like it's like okay, he's doing like the cheesy action lines, which I don't think work a lot of the time. I think sometimes it does, but here's the thing: a surface level understanding of chess. You understand that the phrase "they are moving all their pieces and then they're going to checkmate us." They're moving. They're positioning all their pieces and getting ready for checkmate. That doesn't work. It's a mismatching metaphor completely, and that's just from a surface level understanding of that.
Oh, for me it does work though. Is that just me? I'm actually
it's not. It's obviously it's not just you, Joe, because obviously this film was extraordinarily
that's
successful.
Not me picking apart because I quite like the chess analogy a little bit. I agree. It's a little bit off. It's a tad off.
See what I got to deal with, folks.
I think it's still. I quite like that.
This is the running motif of our show: is that I hate everything, and you apologise for every filmmaker's
I'm just saying this is the best film ever, and it has. I love it.
It's the worst film ever. I hate it. Give me some pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, I see where you're going with it. I think
I understand that you're talking about a suspension of disbelief as well. Is that you can't pick apart every little thing, and I do understand that, but I think that this is on the script level where it's like, okay, if this doesn't work as a metaphor, even slightly, which I don't, as a chess thing, like as a sort of battle of the minds, I can totally see it as a fitting metaphor rather than the specifics. The problem is that he mentions specifics, and also it's not a battle of the minds because the aliens are fucking stupid.
No, I agree. Like when because Goldblum says like it's like chess, and it's like it's not really like chess. But you can. He's like they're positioning their pieces checkmate. That's fine. It's just the bit. It's the rest of it where it's like chess, and it's like you don't really. It's not really like chess. But it is. They are positioning their pieces, and but
that's not how chess. That's not how chess functions. Though.
But
it's not because you don't position all your pieces at once.
Not at
They've
once,
made all the moves.
But that's how the aliens have that advantage.
No, but they strike all cities at once. That's the whole point. Is that they're moving all their pieces at once within conjunction with each other. The assumption in chess would be that okay, the humans move some pieces. They don't. So the problem is, okay, I get it as like a sort of I'm not thinking too hard about this sort of thing. But even then, it's like, okay, well, again, looking at it from as a critic, under the smallest bit of scrutiny, that metaphor completely falls apart.
I think it's not perfect. It definitely has a little bit of an issue with it. But I'm also like, it can work though. Like it does kind of work, but it kind of doesn't. I'm a 50-50
with a smarter script. I could see it like something like some sort of mind game as an analogy working. I just don't think it would in a Roland Emmerich movie where everything is just like it is like. I mean, fuck's sake. I mean, it's a meme at this point with this film. It's dumb as a bag of rocks, but it's fun, dumb fun. Like the fucking it's so like overly patriotic as well. It's like a Michael Bay film before Michael Bay was doing that sort of stuff. I know he started his career like the year before this film, so no doubt that probably inspired him for his sort of style of filmmaking as well. And it's obviously
big explosion.
In terms of science fiction, I think that Independence Day is probably like the Pearl Harbor of science fiction. Like it's like a fucking natural disaster to what happened because. It was the death of popular intelligent science fiction, and ever since we've just seen a slew of like, I mean even with a sequel being made of this, it's like okay, we're doing soft reboots, we're doing we're doing sequels, and it's all going to be just so dumbed down, so that we're basically just explaining it to the audience. It's like. I mean, that's what they do in this film as well with a lot. It's just like, okay, look, it's a signal from another planet, and looks at the camera. It's like that's acceptable though because it's like, okay, some people might not know what SETI is. I didn't beforehand.
Well, no, No.
That's more
But also,
acceptable, I'd say. But
here's what Roland Emmerich does this a lot. Obviously, it's a disaster film, right?
Yeah.
So we want to see disaster strike as soon as possible, really. We want to get into the action.
Yeah.
So you cram as much basic like setup as possible into like the first half an hour of the film or less. So you just get zoomed around between alien signal. Oh, the president here. He exists. Oh, this character exists. This character exists.
Yeah.
This character exists.
I agree with you in like the concept of like if we were doing this film, I'd say the exact same thing. It's okay, yeah, we need to like try and.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's a good. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's what happens.
No. I'm saying it's a. I think that's you're exactly right, but I think it all depends on how you start it, and also depends on how efficient you are. I don't think this film does that, but I think in abstract, what you're saying is completely correct as a way of writing a disaster movie or something like this. You want to get that cathartic sort of that destruction. You want that. We all want that. Yeah. The issue with this film is that it's not the inherent idea of like it takes this long for us to get there. It's that what we have beforehand. You know, this film is like the anti-Return of the King. You know how Return of the King has like 15 endings? This film has like 15 beginnings. It's actually insane. Because it's like, you get it. It's like, the SETI thing, that's done. Then you have the president. But then we have like 3 or 4 more scenes with the president and with Jeff Goldblum before it's 20 minutes before we've even introduced our third main character, which is Will Smith. And then that entire sequence is shot like it's for the trailer, or it's shot like it's meant to be like a reveal. But the way it's edited in the film, Jeff Goldblum sees the fucking saucer before Will Smith does. And the way that they filmed it, it's so perfect. This is not my criticism. This is one that I've adopted from elsewhere. But if the film had started with Will Smith, like the sort of the not seeing what it is, it looks like an earthquake on TV and stuff. That would have been perfect because it's like they don't know yet, and it's not like it doesn't linger on it. We're establishing Will Smith as sort of like like a sort of a surrogate family man because obviously it's not his kid, but it is his family. It's his it's his girlfriend.
I think.
And then you cut to maybe in between that you cut to Jeff Goldblum and you have a scene with him and his dad. Then he just goes to his place and then they pick up on the signal or whatever. And then after Will Smith, then you introduce the president and all that sort of malarkey that happens with it. Also, this is just a weird note. I just because I watched a clip. I was watching I was watching a few clips before we got on the call together. There's when Jeff Goldblum enters his office.
Yeah.
Why is he riding the bike?
Because
we know that he rides the bike already. I mean, it makes sense that he'd ride it into the building. But why is he riding it around on like what would have been the 13th floor or something?
It's a really weird.
It's very like Roland Emmerich-y. In I would say a quirky way. But
it's not.
But it is
I guess
weird.
You could, but I think it's something to do with just him being I'm just gonna zoom past everyone else and ignore everyone else.
It's alright. These extras.
Goldblum's on his own little mission on his bicycle. Really,
that's another instance where I hope that's a Goldblum edition where he's just he's trying to.
Can I just ride the bicycle through the office?
It's like this time he's like, okay, my performance has to be a bit more muted, so I'm just gonna do weird shit. It's like it's like I'll have a sort of subplot or a character arc of I like to recycle and I want to save the planet. And then nothing about what I've been previously established as a recycler, and somebody who wants to protect the environment ecologically. Nothing about that contributes to the plot whatsoever, because then he just uses a computer virus on a laptop that was heavily marketed in the marketing for this film. And the laptop, that was a full sort of Jack and Jill Coca-Cola situation.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not too distracting in the film. It's just that's me more thinking in passing. I remember an advert where it's the new Sony sort of laptop. It will destroy the aliens or something. Jeff Goldblum's there. It's I'm gonna put a virus in the thing or whatever. I can't do a Jeff Goldblum impression, but I mean I guess. I will apologise because I've drawn us off course from talking about a synopsis of this film. I will right now attempt to briefly give one as quick as possible.
Aliens
come to the planet. we have a very slow beginning of all the characters being established. Then the aliens sort of appear in the sky in flying saucers. They then shoot down all of the cities that we've been established in and destroy the cities and all the people. And then all of the US military tries to launch a counteroffensive, doesn't work because they've got like force fields, they've got shields up, and basically they just, it's the characters sort of trying to sort out and plan stuff, going to like Area 51 and stuff like that. All the characters meet up at Area 51 just by chance, apart from like one group of characters, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, they're all sort of, getting ready. They learn that the aliens have been here before with like the Roswell incident. Then they Will Smith has captured an alien. They interrogate the alien. It does some weird mind stuff on Data and the president. I'm calling him Data, by the way, because it's Brent Spiner, the guy who played Data. But he's also playing a scientist in this with the wacky hair. Anyway, they find out that the aliens want to come and kill all the humans. There's no negotiating, so they nuke the bastards, like Bill Pullman says, doesn't work. But then they fly the spaceship up into the big spaceship. They use a computer virus and a missile. They give it a cold. Yeah, that's another a weird fitting analogy. Yeah. But Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum have to do it because they're our main characters. And that's their entire qualification for it. Bill Pullman, who's the president and very important person, gets in a fighter jet and goes and flies with Randy Quaid, who's like a former alien abductee. And while the shields are down because they've uploaded a virus to the mothership, they blow up the ship that's coming for them at Area 51. And it's exactly like Star Wars because it's even down to that they're moving into position with our base, and then they tell the rest of the world how to do it because the Americans solved it first. Oh, did I mention that Bill Pullman gives a really patriotic speech and a guy salutes? I mean, but basically, they defeat the aliens. Happy ending. Everyone meets up in a lake, and it's like, they're all smoking cigars and sort of like laughing and stuff.
And then they celebrate the world's Independence Day.
Yeah, that's basically the film in a nutshell.
But America is just the best.
Yeah, that's obviously the running.
They do. It's weird how they're like, not just an American holiday, but an international holiday.
Yeah,
but
it's
Americans did it first.
It reminds me of like the parody of like of America, which is Team America World Police.
Yeah,
where it's like we're going to impose our culture on everyone else.
I mean, if their like cities are destroyed,
it's like exactly this in Paris at the beginning of that film. They destroy Paris and go, "What?" You're welcome, Paris. It's great. It's so fucking funny. That film is, by the way, I think it's strange. It's probably more current than it has any right to be, just because of how America is. But yeah, it's just like it's like the Americans are supposedly the super competent heroes who can never do any wrong. But yeah, I guess in terms of plot, though. The thing is, I guess now we need to get into the meat and potatoes without going into, obviously, we've done the synopsis.
Yeah.
The aliens in this film, what is their plan?
To kill all life.
How do they go about this plan?
Destroy everything.
How efficiently?
Oh, it just takes them like 38 hours to destroy major cities.
Yeah.
But not really go out their way to destroy anything in between.
And then they slowly move across the country.
Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of like sort of trying to make it climactic, I can understand they can't. Maybe you could have like a sort of a statement by one of the scientists saying, well, maybe they can't move that so fast in atmosphere because they're worried they'll destroy it or something. And if they want our planet and our resources for their own, like to maybe colonize or something, they need our atmosphere intact. So they need to be careful about what they do and stuff like that. And maybe that has an influence with the nuclear option or whatever. But basically, the human characters are already pretty stupid. But these aliens, they're using our own satellites and our own radio signals to communicate.
Yeah.
Can't they do that on their own? How did they get to the planet if they weren't able to talk to each other? I guess they're all on the mothership. But still, like, if the planet didn't have those, and they're like a caveman species or whatever, like on a different planet, let's just like hypothetical. It's like, okay, they go to like a planet, there's no technology whatsoever, but they want to take the planet for themselves. Do they just have to like use like cups and strings to talk? Like, it's an odd little thing where it's like, okay, this is so that we have a tool against them. But the problem is well, it assumes that human technology is compatible with it in the first place. Them making our technology compatible makes sense, but again, it's like, well, they should have. It's like a Rise of Skywalker. I'm not going to spoil it too much because I know you haven't seen it, but there's a plot for device where it's like, oh, this like signal thing. It's on this one ship. We're going to transfer it to this one ship, right? So that that all the ships can leave this place. There's like a fucking million of these ships, right? And you immediately go in your mind, why don't they just do that? Why don't they just transmit to all of the ships? Like, use all the ships to do it. But no, it's just this one ship. It's just this one dude. It's because J.J. Abrams obviously is a symptom of Independence Day. He's a fucking Independence Day baby. He's like, Roland Emmerich created that situation, and that's obviously why we've got all this stuff. But it's very similar to that. It's very similar, and it's just like, okay, the computer virus thing. I mean, you're familiar with what this film is based on, because it's basically just a reimagining of a very classic story. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Before I say it,
probably not.
Well, you'll have heard of it. It's just maybe you haven't thought about it until now. Also, it's incidental because obviously we're talking about bargain bin Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg, in fact, made a remake of this film and the story, which is War of the Worlds. This film is an exact copy of War of the Worlds, just in the 90s, and with with a slightly dumber sort of contrivance. War of the Worlds, when it was written, it was the 19th century. That's more than 100 years ago, and was revolutionary at the time. That being said, similar to a lot of works, it didn't hold up entirely, and when you think about it, the technologically superior aliens coming to our planet and not understanding that the germs will kill them, like not having sensors that would detect that, it's a product of his time where he just didn't think about that, because it wasn't a theoretical thing. It's so creative that it's like, okay, you can suspend a bit of your disbelief with that, and it doesn't. I think it is a negative in favor of a negative against the Spielberg remake, because obviously now you've modernized it. The twist is kind of revealed to be even dumber. That germs killed them. It's a unique subversion, but the idea that a virus wipes all the aliens out just from being around. It's also been used in like Signs, because the water's poisonous to the aliens and that. But it's a very common tool. Obviously, if you're in the 90s and tech is starting to take off, the natural sort of progress in a deeply stupid person's mind, Roland Emmerich. I'm being a jesting sort of bastard, but I'm trying to give this comedic effect. Basically, you then that transfers from biological virus or germs to digital virus or germs. And they use the digital virus to completely wipe out the aliens. There's obviously a few more bits and bobs added in there that obviously definitely inspired Episode 1 of Star Wars. With we blow up the main ship, and then all the other ships will the ground forces will be destroyed. But you can see that there's a lot of similarities with that, obviously. It's that the humans, they're on the run from the technologically superior aliens, and they use like something that they, it's like a irony sort of part, is that they're technologically, superior to the humans, but the humans have like something that's like natural to them that subverts and kills the aliens. In the War of the Worlds, it kind of works, despite how silly it is from the aliens not detecting that. But it's even dumber when you make it a computer virus, because again, it's like, okay, maybe somewhere along the lines, when having the characters work out this plan, you could maybe argue, if you knew something about computer viruses, that maybe it's like, okay, they don't have the same kind of like maybe Earth is so badly filled with like trolls and phishing and terrible computer viruses that we've got like a fucking super like e-AIDS or something, like electronic AIDS. Sorry, just saying that is like I'm having to ground myself a bit down here. Like I'm trying to get on the filmmaker's level of like, okay, we'll have internet AIDS. We'll give the aliens electric gonorrhea. Because it's the same principle. So he says, we're going to give it a cold. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I could see that the virus thing working at some point, but definitely with a bit more explanation. Somebody who actually knows about computer viruses.
Yeah,
I could see it working, but I do think in its current structure, it's like this should not affect them, like it does in War of the Worlds. Like, it shouldn't affect them because they should know about it.
Yeah, because it's like, how does... I mean, it's also like, it's on his laptop that he's been using throughout the entire thing. Again, it's like...
The Sony laptop.
Yeah, and like, you really have a virus that's going to penetrate a highly advanced technological alien mothership?
Also, it's Jeff Goldblum who's going to develop said virus.
Yeah.
Also, if they have a virus on that laptop... I'm not too savvy with viruses, but I'm guessing there must be some way to sort of contain it within something.
Yeah.
But if it's on the laptop in the 90s, my assumption would be that it's like your laptop's infected with the virus, surely.
I mean, even then, you're not going to get that big of a virus on your laptop.
Well, especially, not in 1996, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be powerful enough to do anything, as you said. That's the ending of the film is very flawed, and the aliens should win. That's kind of the thing, though. It's like with War of the Worlds as well. It's like, if you don't give some like dumb reason for the aliens to die, they're just gonna win. So there has to be, like any disaster film, there has to be a dumb reason for.
I think you can work around it, because the thing is with science fiction is that when it's written by smart people, science fiction can get around all sorts of corners and that. And I think that again, the issue is that I think they wrote that ending. They wrote with the ending in mind rather than I think that it was naturally progressing. They rushed the ending, I think, because it's like, oh fuck, as you said, it's so messy. The rest of the film has fairly clean structure to its acts. But I think that with regards to the twist, I think they wrote very much with that in mind. It's like, okay, so we'll have them using our satellites, and then nobody obviously stopped and thought, well, why are they using... That's such a design flaw in their invasion plan that they're using our satellites. If they were like blocking it or something, it's like they're blocking our communications like globally or something. Maybe then you could sneak in. Again, it's like, that's still on the sort of level of like, we have to have the virus twist. Maybe if they changed it around a bit, I could see like a smarter filmmaker managing to do that. But, I mean, Steven Spielberg tried it, and he basically just did he did the sort of, I guess, the smart thing, which is just to remake an already existing property. But in terms of plot, it's a very messy affair, but at least there is some structure to the earlier story. As a disaster film, you have that very clean sort of, we're being destroyed and all this stuff. But yeah, Steven Spielberg definitely took the smarter route, which is just, okay, I'm not gonna try and modernize the solution. It's a smart enough solution, just like from the original source material. I won't dilute it.
Yeah.
I'll just change it up when it comes to the characters and the plot, which is what he did. And I think in some respects that works, in some respects it doesn't, but that's a different video entirely. I probably like this film more than War of the Worlds, but I've seen this one more, so it would be unfair to that film.
I'll say I think War of the Worlds is more atmospheric, probably. It's more consistent.
Well, it's more competent. Is another thing.
Yeah, it's not as interesting, I don't think.
Well, that one sort of, it's very Land of the Dead in the respect that that's obviously a metaphor for the Bush era. The War of the Worlds 2005 is especially about the Bush era and about like the era of the 9/11 and terrorism. This is another thing. This film would never be made today because it has landmarks being blown up.
Yeah,
that didn't age well.
No,
I saw a shot of the Twin Towers when Judd Hirsch and Jeff Goldblum were playing chess, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah. No, it's like these alien terrorists just show up out of nowhere and they're just blowing up our landmarks.
And obviously that's directly reflected in War of the Worlds with, I think it's young Dakota Fanning saying, "Is it the terrorists?" And it's obviously that's the very on the nose reference. But yeah, anyway, back to the film though. I guess. Is there anything else with regards to the plot that you'd want to talk about? Because I'm happy to move on to characters.
Not like the overarching plot. Again, I'd say the overall thing is very messy sometimes. But there are sections of the film that I'd say work, like in the plot wise. It's like there are bits I can understand and I like, but in the general scale of things,
yeah. I agree. I think there's. I mean, again, it's like I'm not saying that this is the worst film ever made. I actually enjoy this film, but I have to scrutinize it both for the sake of our show and also for the sake of being sort of critical about it.
No. And I can see, especially in the plot, I can see the flaws as well.
I think the first and second act are pretty consistent with the structure. I don't think the specific scenes within them are always great. But the third act is pretty messy, but I do admit that, like, I get chills, like sort of cheesy chills when Randy Quaid is like, "Hello, boys, I'm back!"
Well,
like, that's fun. That's fun, and it's like Lindsay Ellis put it, it's a fun apocalypse.
Yeah, and I mean, I do have some stuff to say on some of the characters in a bit.
Well, we can move on to the characters now, really, because I think that's all we've got, really. I mean, I guess we should go.
I know you're going to mention
VFX is
CGI.
It's not the VFX is good. The miniature work is very good. The shots are very infamous with the blowing up and all that. I think it's fairly competent. I do think that the CGI ships have obviously, I think, similar to like some of the stuff that you see in some of the other CGI from this era. It's definitely not aged the worst compared to a lot of other films. So I think similar to like Jurassic Park, I think a lot of it's aged quite gracefully. I think sometimes there is a bit of a weird rough matting, but it's fine. It's not really my major complaint with the film. The action, I will say, is. I can't stop thinking of Star Wars because of the direct parallels, but also that's not just from the prequels, but it's also just from Star Wars. But also, they're flying around with jets and fighting the spacecraft. Yeah. Why would the aliens even launch spacecraft? Just blow up everything with the giant ship.
Yeah, it's more for the action, but also, I mean, they need some defenses when that gun probably takes 24 hours.
But they have defenses, though. We saw at the beginning of the film when they try and signal the thing, they blow up the helicopters.
But
it's like a seismic charge from episode 2. It just goes like it's like a big like ring that just like fires out. That would destroy everything, you know.
Yeah, they don't show it to have that much range, though, so who knows?
No, well, it's more of a close-up, really. So, actually, to be fair, I think it's probably just like them on a platform, like the aliens shooting at them or something with like hand cannons or something. But that's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is like it's like the monster in a slasher film. It's like, well, what's the ability of them? It's confusing. Yeah. Like the logic is not consistent.
The bit I will say when it comes to like. Especially, I'm pretty sure practical effects for a lot of it.
Yeah, so it's miniature work with a lot of buildings. I'm pretty sure miniature work, and they just blew it up.
I mean, they've got the big explosions. They look pretty good still.
Great, fantastic.
And you know, I love watching my favorite cities get blown to pieces. I love that sort of stuff. But I was going to say about the aliens themselves.
Yeah,
like, when you actually get to see them. Because you only I wouldn't say the one right at the end. The one at the end is a bit weird, but when in the lab, I quite like the alien.
That scene I think is neat because they're covered like it's all fog covered and it's meant to be shot like a sort of horror scene. But I think the issue is that visually speaking, it's not very unique.
I think they're very stereotypical aliens, but I just think they're done quite well. Though
I don't know. It's like the principles of the xenomorph in Alien, but instead of using the darkness to their advantage, it's like in full like bathed light. The fog is really only when it starts to look intimidating because they've actually like obscured it somewhat.
I mean, look,
but when it's on the table, I really wasn't a massive fan of that.
I don't know. I still quite like the practical effects that they've got.
Also, this is another like plot nitpick. Why are there no soldiers with guns in there? Like, you have them scrubbed up, scrubbed up for the sake of contamination, but there should be like people with fucking M4s there, waiting. Because nobody's fucking looking through the glass either. They come into the room. It's like, okay, as soon as that fucking thing gets up, they should have like, okay, guns. Let's just fucking kill the thing.
Yeah. No. There are plot flaws, but I'm just saying, I still quite like the those aliens look quite good. They're not particularly interesting, but they do look quite good in those scenes there.
I think it depends when it's filmed. I think the fog part, like the horror sort of the Sam Raimi horror scene, I think is the good part of that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the way that they filmed it beforehand, they definitely didn't show as much of it, which helped. But
yeah,
when they are they're like cutting through it, and they're showing you what it is. It's like, I don't know. I just can't help but think like this is a rip-off of other designs, and it's not very creative.
No, that's the thing. I'm not saying it's creative. I can see it's very. That is just Alien. It's just an Alien.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying they still look quite good quality-wise.
I don't know. Yeah, in terms of like the construction of them, like as a practical effect, I mean it's competent. Yeah. I mean, speaking of like the effects though, there's. I guess this could be a sort of a beginning into the character talk, but as dumb as it is, and as wholesome as it is for probably your average viewer, the scene with the dog is really dumb.
It is very dumb.
I feel like we can agree on that much.
Yeah, so it's really weird. Obviously, you need a way for characters to. Again, it's just like, how do they survive when they're basically meant to get burnt to a crisp? Well, they'll just be in a tunnel and they'll, get in this little cupboard in the tunnel.
They move to the side.
Still, yeah. They didn't even shut the door.
Well, Joe, you've got to understand, like, this is the first time in Hollywood, but in fact before Prometheus came out, that a female character has moved to the side of something coming towards them. So that alone was enough to stop it, really. Just the force of, like... But an intelligent decision made by a female character, semi-intelligent decision.
I mean, I'll tell you what's even more of a flaw with her little character section, right? So it's fine. It's not entirely believable, but if it was done a little bit better, yes, they probably find some shelter underground in a tunnel. Maybe they might have been safe, but not with the door wide open and waiting for the dog to leap in. Yeah. It's still a cool moment back in the day.
As a kid, I loved it.
I care about that dog.
Yeah, same. As a kid, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's
Boomer. Boomer must survive, but probably wouldn't survive.
Yeah, no, and neither would they.
Yeah, but later on, when she's going around looking for survivors, the president's wife was in the helicopter right in front of the White House when it got blown up.
No, so that's a common rewatch misconception. She was in LA. They were taking off of a rooftop on a helicopter. You get confused because there is also the helicopter that blows up in the White House. There's a reason why that's there. Because the censors were not happy with the image of the White House being exploded in a wide shot. So they added the helicopter afterwards and then quickly cut away from it to try and minimize that issue with the censor. So there's so the helicopter is actually, I think they established there's a second helicopter earlier when the president is fucking off, but that's just the White House staff escaping.
Oh okay. That's
no, I remember thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But still, she probably wouldn't have survived in a helicopter either way.
Well, she's just under a bit of rubble, and she seems to be fine for a few days. And then as soon as they get to the hospital at Area 51, she like Padme dies. It's
logic-wise, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense, but also, oddly enough, still, when she does eventually get back to the president and all that scene I find quite nice, and it's quite I feel emotion here. But logic-wise in the plot, there's a lot of flaws. But emotion-wise, I feel like they do some scenes like that.
Well, it helps that Mary McDonnell, who's the actress who plays the president's wife, the first lady, she's really good. She's not really utilized in this film, but she's a really good actress in general, or a really good actor in general, and she was. This has been pointed out before, but it's ironic because she plays the president's wife in this film. In the show, in the remake of Battlestar Galactica, she plays the president, and she's very good in that show. She's just completely, unfortunately. This is the thing. I guess we're already in the talk of the female characters before we talk about the male characters. The female characters are kind of insulting in this film.
Yeah,
because
I agree. There's not
Like, okay, like Mary McDonnell just dies.
Yeah.
She's all of the female characters in this film are love interests for the male leads.
Yeah.
One of them dies before she's allowed to have a character. One of them is just an exotic dancer, and she drives a dump truck around until her competent male love interest comes to rescue them. And then she has a haha funny because I guess like it's a funny awkward or something because it's like I love the ballet. Oh no, I'm actually an exotic dancer. And then it's like the uppity white woman's gonna get really upset or something. But then okay, those two characters. Okay, the one of them dies and the other one's like a stripper. Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand these characters kind of not having as much to do, but Jeff Goldblum's former flame, who's in the fucking cabinet, president's like aide, she should be fucking like so competent, but she does nothing, and it's Jeff Goldblum who solves the issue, and then she's just a wish fulfillment reward for him at the end.
Yeah, I agree on this front. Female characters are not done any justice whatsoever.
And it is the thing, it wouldn't be as egregious if there weren't as many of them. Like, obviously, I would love there to be way more female characters in films. I think any sort of self-respecting sort of leftist pinko, communist, fucking Bolshevik, Leninist, I don't know, what other buzzwords could be, cultural Marxist pieces of garbage that I apparently am, even though I don't really go either way. I don't want to go too much into politics, but the point is that, like, you know, from a diversity angle, like, the more the merrier, but you got to have them do something, you know, especially, it's like, okay, as background characters, I can understand the lack of them, but they're main characters. We have scenes where they like the mother, the Will Smith's girlfriend who's the dancer, she has scenes where she does stuff, but it's not really important. She doesn't really have anything to it. She doesn't really have a character arc. None of them do. One of them just dies. Okay, that can be acceptable, but still, you know, it's like that's more for like a sentimental moment between her and her husband, the president, and their daughter. That works. But again, it's like a contribute as a contribution to the rest of it. When you also have like the career woman, the career-driven, like, you know, secretary, who's also just sort of, you know, falling back in love with Jeff Goldblum because he's the main character.
He's also, you know, there's a lot of dead people out there. You can't be picky anymore, you know.
We've got to repopulate the Earth.
Yeah, Goldblum's as good as you're gonna get. Like, Area 51. Got to repopulate.
Bill Pullman's like looking over at like the CIA guy who wanted to nuke everything. It's like, you're gonna have to have a sex change, my friend. It's like, I thought I was fired. You're rehired as my wife.
I need someone to fill the.
We're going to live on. This will be our mating day. But yeah, it's just like, okay, I can understand in a film with less roles that you can have, with less female roles, that you can have this sort of lack of depth. But because there's so many characters as it is, they contribute to like, the dead weight that's being put all over, being smeared all over this film.
Yeah, no, it's very much a male-oriented film, really, isn't it? Because you got like 2 male military pilots, you got the farmer, like alien abducted male pilot, you've got the
3 pilots in the film.
Yeah. Well, there's president's pilot as well.
That's what I mean. Sorry, that's what I meant. Is that like 3 main characters are pilots in this film? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's a little odd. And then you got Goldblum. He's a male. You got the scientist guys, they're all male pretty much. You got the president's like military advisors,
you got the general, and then you have like the CIA sort of like guy who knows about Area 51 who wants to nuke everything. Now, here's the thing: as a last resort, I can understand the nuke everyone argument, by the way, but that guy really wants to nuke the world.
Yeah, he's like, let's just nuke. It's all the most incompetent. Secretary of Defense.
It's like Jeff Goldblum gets pretty upset about what is, you know, the last step they can really take realistically until they come up with a solution. He gets pretty upset with that. It's like, oh, he's a fucking idiot, the president. It's like, but it's like, okay, what other steps do you really have past that? But the entire film, he's like, the nuclear option, he's like, as soon as they appear in the sky, we should blow them up with missiles! And it's like, you expect the general to be the guy who's doing that.
Yeah, not the, like...
You expect, like, George C. Scott from Doctor Strangelove to be, like, falling over and, like, loosening his shirt and going absolutely, like, wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a parody. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of weak characters in there.
Well, we've got, obviously, the big three are Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, and Bill Pullman. We also have, like, kind of Randy Quaid. Judd Hirsch is also there. We mentioned him, but mainly his thing is that he's Jewish, and that's basically it.
Like, he's like a funny gag occasionally, really, isn't he? He's quite... He has a wholesome scene here and there, but... He does
have a kind of character arc where, like... To begin with, he's mocking and berating his son for sort of wasting his life, and then when he saves the world, he praises him. That's fairly nice.
Yeah, like I like his character. He's not really a main character either. He's more of a side character. So
yeah, exactly. I'm just mentioning him just because he's on the list I'm looking at the moment.
I like him. Yeah. Goldblum's Goldblum. You can't really go too wrong with him, but he's again, as you said, he's playing the straight man in this.
He's on Ambien in this film. Like,
I still like his character a little bit, but he's not very interesting overall.
Yeah, I think it might just be that, like, okay, because it's weird. It's another. We're going back to cats and dogs. It's another weird situation because. And by the way, just because I already addressed it, but I brought Star Wars into the discussion earlier a ton of times.
Yeah.
I just wanted that on the record.
Good.
Just in case any of it gets cut out.
Star Wars.
Right? Yeah. But Roland Emmerich, obviously infamous for making films with plucky scientist characters who want to save the world. The last three films, Jeff Goldblum is plucky science character who wants to better the world. What the fuck? Are the planets aligning, Joe? Are we gonna get are we gonna get fucking abducted by aliens? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah, Goldblum definitely got a little bit typecast for a bit. Obviously, I think what was it? Jurassic Park first.
Oh, I think The Fly was probably first because I think that's in like the 80s.
Well, The Fly was first, but then he's less plucky in The Fly.
But he's got the charisma though, because he's very
he's
very sort of like eccentric,
charismatic scientist. Yeah.
In this one, he's the eccentricity's sort of lost a little bit.
Yeah, more for like greener, straight man.
Which is weird because obviously Cats and Dogs is after this, so it's like a brief rut in that sort of archetype, and then he resurges in the kids film where he's fantastic for the brief amount of time he's in it.
I mean, again, I still I wouldn't say he's a bad character in this film.
He's competent, but what I mean is
he's middling, for sure.
But it's like a Nick Cage performance. So it's like, I want to see more. I want the Cage. I want
to see more Goldblum.
Yeah, I want to see Beefcake Jeff Goldblum like lying on his side, like sort of sexily looking at the camera, and I want to feel things, Joe.
I mean, to be fair, you do get to see a little bit of his. He's in where he's sort of having his own little tantrum. He's got like his a low cut, almost. Well, his t-shirt's a bit off, so you can see his chest. They make him all sweaty, and you get a little bit of the Goldblum there. A little bit of your sexy Goldblum.
Are we like doing a male gaze, but for Jeff Goldblum? Like,
I mean, they always do it.
Good.
They always do it. Where's the bit in Cats and Dogs where they do the male gaze?
It's a kids' film. He has to be chased. His chest.
Yeah.
It's when he opens the door and squashes the cat. He's wearing lingerie.
Yeah, he
comes smoking
out
like an evil like femme fatale cigarette or something.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Bond.
I've been waiting for you, Tobey Maguire dog. I'm going to sniff you now.
Ooh la la.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, but no. So Goldblum is Goldblum pretty much.
Yeah,
but
he's
less
fine.
Goldblum.
He's fine.
Goldblum, but less Goldblum.
I'd prefer more of him, like more of the eccentricity. But I think the problem is that like, if you'd had both him and Will Smith being eccentric ones, you probably would have had like some sort of some trying to outdo each other sort of stuff. So it makes sense. Bill Pullman, I'm going to be honest. Speaking of characters on actors on Ambien, like if you I've got to be honest. I'd rather watch Spaceballs. Like, I'd rather just go full Looney Tunes, because Bill Pullman's in that. He's the main character. And it's like, okay, Mel Brooks' film perfectly suits Bill Pullman. In this film, I just feel like, yeah, he's doing a competent job. I wouldn't say it's bad acting, but it's like...
No, I think...
He's just like I don't know.
I like him sort of middle to late in the film. Like, the bit where, the bit with his wife, I think he does really well. And the speech, I still think is pretty good. Like, that's the best bit of his performance, is the speech, really. I mean, he delivers it with that patriotic sort of vitriol. Yeah. That is... And then, like, there's a little bit with the alien just before that in the lab, where it's like... I don't know. But I agree, like, his performance isn't the best throughout, but I think he's got memorable moments which stand out. I think that's more on behalf of his place in the script, though, and the script. Yeah, but it's still a memorable performance. It's like, if I think of him as an actor, the speech in Independence Day is going to be one of the first things I think of. Well, I think, again, though, I don't think that's down to the performance, though. I think that's just because that's an iconic moment because of how it was filmed, the way it was written, and that it's not like... Yeah, I think it's not just... I mean, I'm not saying, again, it's not he's doing a bad performance. I'm just saying that, like... I think it's more to do with that he's doing a competent delivery factors. The contributing factors of the film make it what it is. He's the catalyst for it, but everything else is obviously surrounding it. Yeah, but it's still, I still like the speech, but his performance overall is a bit dulled down throughout the film. I agree on that. Yeah, I think in terms of... He's not the most interesting. Yeah, and then obviously it's really... You have Will Smith, who's the... Will Smith. Yeah. I mean, which is why... Delightful. Yeah, he's fun. He's not even the last Will Smith film we've got on here. I can't wait for him to close out our Summer Blockbuster season. Like, in fact, by the way, I just want to say right now, like, as much as... I don't really enjoy deconstructing this film because it does fall apart under like, very light scrutiny. Yeah. It's like, again... If this is something that was on TV and I switch my brain off and I watch it, I can enjoy it perfectly fine, but I don't think it's a good movie. I cannot wait until we get through the next... I can't wait till the latter half of this blockbuster season that we're doing happens, because I'm going to enjoy it so much more. Apart from Gladiator, I'm not too sure what the hell's going to go on with that one, but I'll probably enjoy it. Can't wait. Probably be good. I'll come to my overall opinion of Independence Day. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to do it so early. I just wanted to address that. Like, obviously, I'm going to be looking forward a bit more to what I'll be doing in the future. Yeah, there are some good ones coming up. But in Will Smith in this one, he still does. He's like the main show, really, isn't he? He's the main guy. Well, you say that, but it really... Goldblum's like his duo. Well, you see, I don't think that Will Smith is the main guy, because we don't have as many scenes with him. In fact, he's also the last main character introduced in the film. Like, we have fucking Randy Quaid before we see Will Smith. It's like, as I said, it's like Return of the King, but in reverse. It takes 20 minutes for us to see Will Smith in this film. The only thing I'll give it with that is chronologically in the story, it makes sense that Will Smith, because he wakes up last. Timeline-wise, yes, but I think from an editing perspective, it is a misfire. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Especially when you have like literally the second before he looks up and sees the spaceship, and we see the spaceship, you've just cut from a scene where Jeff Goldblum looks at the spaceship, and we see the spaceship. Yeah. It's just it's an awkward one. The editing, I will say, in this film is, I think, a little bit incompetent. Yeah, sometimes. I think as a filmmaking aspect, I think that is like the weakest part. The cinematography, fine. The soundtrack, fine. All this stuff is like competent. But I think that I do think the editing in places is just like, it's inane. Placement of scenes is a bit off sometimes. Yeah. Will Smith's like the fun action hero, really, isn't he? So it's funny that as well. I mentioned Arnie, obviously, in passing. It's like he's the draw piece for us. He's the one that's drawing our attention, the one that brings us in. Which is why when they made a sequel, that they were like, Will Smith's like, I'm not doing a sequel. I'm doing Suicide Squad, the worst film ever. Yeah, that's why the sequel is awful.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, well, obviously we didn't rewatch it. This is not like the Blues Brothers one where we haven't rewatched.
No, I'm just saying,
sequel,
like,
yeah.
it's a major thing that
No, I agree.
in the sequel to this film, they bring back every character bar Will Smith.
I remember Goldblum. Ian Malcolm when he's got the eye makeup on.
But no, Goldblum comes back. His dad's character comes back.
Fucking Judd Hirsch was still alive when that film was made.
Yeah, he's still.
What the fuck?
And he looks exactly the same, which is funny.
That's
he hasn't aged today, apparently. But they bring back all the other characters, but they couldn't get Will Smith. So
I haven't seen the second one, by the way, so I can't really comment.
I have. I don't remember much of it. It's not good.
I remember that from like reviews and comments and stuff that it was apparently they were copying Alien even more. And now there's a queen and stuff like that. And they were either after our oceans or our volcanoes, and they tried to retcon and explain that. Yeah,
I can't quite remember. It's been so long. I've got it on DVD, the sequel. But do I ever want to watch it again? No.
No.
But anyway, no. I just remember again. It's like Will Smith didn't come back, and that's like a major for anyone who's a fan of the first film. Why would you watch a sequel without one of the best characters? So,
but I would argue the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely doesn't have the best moment. That honor goes to Randy Quaid, I think.
Yes, I agree with because again, when I say a couple of the things the film does well is, like with the president's wife, I feel emotion when in that one scene between him and the president and the daughter.
Yeah.
And Randy Quaid when he makes the sacrifice.
It's so goofy, but it's entertaining.
It's cheesy.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I feel emotion when it happens. And
if the cheese was isolated to that character, I could totally accept it as like an entire as a fucking gold star on the film.
Yeah,
that is just like some. Your more highbrow critics will probably be like, "Oh, it was not an eloquent way of displaying Randy Quaid's character arc finishing." But for me and for you, I think we're just like our dumb brains are like, this is so fucking goofy and awesome. It's great.
He gets to pay back to the aliens, and he's like, for my kids.
Just the line itself. Hello, boys! I'm back!
I'm back!
It's fucking so funny.
It's cheesy as hell.
Yeah. He you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the air controller character from Airplane. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Yeah.
It jumps out of the tower.
Yeah.
But sorry, I gotta bring us back a little bit. So obviously I referenced Arnold Schwarzenegger. We recently did not recently, but a few months ago we did the Paul Verhoeven episode where we did RoboCop, Total Recall, Starship Troopers. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this very loose connection is because there is actually not a connection in itself, but a connection I've made between this film and Starship Troopers. Because I remember when we talked about Starship Troopers, that obviously we're talking about how vain and like fascist everything is, and I'm gonna be honest, like they're so similar in my mind in terms of that tone for this film. But the problem is this thing: Paul Verhoeven was being ironic. This film is unironically like the ending of Starship Troopers, where they're all going da 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 da, and they're all shooting up in the air. It's afraid, fear wins. It's like that's with a bit less of the sort of the cynicism in its dialogue and its message of like it's not like we've just committed genocide against another race. It's like we've defended our home. But I can't help it because it's so patriotic in this, and it's unironic.
Yeah,
and it also there's so many. There are some things in Starship Troopers where I'm like, okay, there's a few sort of not in the plot, I guess, but with the characters especially. It's like, okay, this is dumb. It's like an entire character filled with like one-dimensional character. This film it's like that. It's filled with one-dimensional characters. Because they're all like 2D strips of people. Because even with Will Smith's like charisma, what does he have going for his character? He wants to be a NASA pilot. That's it. That's his only sort of reason for going into space.
They're all simple. There's a lot of stereotypes.
Jeff Goldblum plays chess and also doesn't understand it in his dialogue. And also he recycles, and then the recycling has nothing to do with his character.
Saving the world.
No, but it's like
but
it's like the Will Smith thing where it's like he goes to space eventually. That's supposed to be a payoff for him being in NASA, wanting to be in NASA. It doesn't work though because it's so loosely sort of set up. And I mean, Randy Quaid is really the only person with decent setup for his character. It's like, oh, he was abducted and sort of experimented on, so he goes back and he fucks up their shit. And it's not a particularly smart arc, but it works. And then, you know, the president, he starts off as like a sort of like cowardly president who was like a former pilot. He becomes the warrior that they need him to be or whatever. But he's also, it's like, it's the most like stupidly American thing ever. The president of the United States is flying the lead jet and commanding. It's like the jokes people would make when Osama bin Laden was killed about how they airdropped Barack Obama in. He just beat Osama bin Laden mercilessly with his fists. Yeah, like like Barack Obama with his big old like Arnold, or like I guess like his big old Carl Weathers like muscly arms. He just like performs like a fucking Duke Nukem or something on fucking Osama bin Laden. It's like he single-handedly arm wrestled Osama bin Laden's arm off. You know, it's like it feels like that, but unironic. Again, I don't know. It's like it's weird to look at this film with a modern lens because obviously there's been so many. Not even just regarding like recent sort of social issues with regard to like BLM or something in the US. Obviously, I'm dating the podcast a little bit right now by saying this, but what I mean is that like, okay, in recent years with America, obviously there's been the Trump era, there's been a massive era, and not just with America in that era, but the Bush era. Basically, since the turn of the century, we've kind of seen America and Western countries in a different light because. We've with the freedom of information and the internet, and we get so many different perspectives, and obviously as time goes on, we've become more and more cynical with our media and our films and all this stuff, and it's both exposed truths and also it's propagated lies on the back of it. But it's really interesting to think about this film nowadays and think about how overly patriotic it is and how it probably is fed into a lot of people's delusions about how great their country is, about how everything's perfect, and all these people who are trying to fix the problems that are inherent with it are all, you know, like whining, sensitive babies who are ruining my country or whatever, and they should all go home. And then obviously completely blind to the inherent, like, you know, xenophobia or racism or homophobia or sexism in that statement. And it's just like, okay, I know that obviously we talked about the diversity thing earlier with the women characters, but I just thought it's interesting to note that nowadays I can't help but look at this film and look at the patriotism in it and think it is just like Starship Troopers, but unironically. Like, I can't help but start seeing the fascist roots of that film take sort of start growing in there. Very extreme with that. I understand that, but
like, because it's meant, again, it's just a big summer blockbuster, you know, disaster, monster, alien film.
It's the inspiration for this season, is what it was. I said to you, like, we'll do an Independence Day episode for 4th of July. Yeah. And then I think you said, we should do like an entire season of it, of like blockbusters.
And get a Goldblum trilogy in there.
Yeah. I think you might have said, I think it might have been Cats and Dogs. You said, Goldblum's in Cats and Dogs, and I was like, no, you're kidding, right? And I was like, oh, no, you're right. Yeah. And then you were like, let's position them all together, and then it's like, okay. Yeah, you can take credit.
Enough Goldblum.
You can take credit for noticing it. Yeah, but we're
almost done with our Goldblum trilogy anyway. But
I'm done. I'm fucking done.
But yeah, I agree with the whole Patriot, and I was thinking there's that one line in, you know, where they're like, they're planning their counteroffensive and they're messaging people, and there's the whole like. It's the Americans. They want to plan a counteroffensive. Oh yes, it's about
the World War II English soldiers that might as well have Spitfires next to them.
Yeah,
we've been time travelled from the 40s. we all talk like this, do we?
We need the Americans to tell us what to do.
The Americans are telling us that we should bomb the Jerrys.
How do we kill these bloody off-worlders?
Tommy boy, hop in your Spitfire and let's go up there and show them 1-2, shall we?
But yeah, it's very, I could see where you're coming from with all that. And yeah, Starship Troopers came afterwards as well.
Yeah, no, it did.
Right? So
I think so. I think it was, in fact, it might have been the
year
after.
Yeah, it was 99, somewhere around there.
Oh, I thought it was 97.
It's 97 maybe.
Might be. So it might be the year afterwards. We now found out it's like 1993. It's like,
no, it's definitely late 90s.
It had that early 2000s look.
Like Jurassic Park, this is like one of my kids' favourite films. But Jurassic Park I still consider a really good film.
Yeah.
Like one of my favourites. Independence Day is not one of my favourite films anymore. It used to be. As I said, I'm always a disaster film person. Roland Emmerich, I've seen pretty much all of his disaster films. Some of them are better than others. You know,
so all of his films,
yeah, there are some which we choose to ignore. But I enjoy a lot of his disaster films. They're a good bit of fun.
Yeah, well, I should point out I like Stargate, for instance, which is just as cheesy, but is like a different kind of, you know, like concept science fiction wise.
Independence Day, I'd say it's one of Roland Emmerich's stronger films, right?
I don't know. I'd have to really rewatch like Stargate and scrutinize that a bit, but it's definitely better than Godzilla and his other stuff. Like,
yeah, I'm comparing like Godzilla. I like Godzilla, but it's not. I'd consider Godzilla not so good.
I think it's awful.
I wouldn't go quite so far as awful, but it's not good.
Well, we've got to be contrasting.
I enjoy it.
You got to be the positive one. I got to be. You're good cop. I'm bad cop.
Yeah. No, but here's the thing, right? All the other, like, you got Day After Tomorrow and all those other films, I like many of those films for some reason, but I agree that they're not good. Independence Day, I know you're on the verge of it. You were saying it's not good. I actually think Independence Day is good, but not that good.
What I'm trying to say is that it's not a good movie, but it's not bad. It's like it's so mediocre, but it is entertaining, so that it doesn't have the issue of like mediocre films that are boring, because it's not boring.
It's a middling film when you think about it more in depth. It has many issues. Entertainment wise, it's good.
Yeah,
but it's like character issues, plot issues, many other issues. I can see many of these.
But I also can't forgive it for what it's done to the industry, because this is the benchmark. This is the end of the Spielberg Lucas era, zone or era, where you had like these really unique summer blockbusters, and in the case of Steven Spielberg, he was cranking those fuckers out, and he was doing it at a really high level of quality. Roland Emmerich tried to do that, but only got the sort of semi-structure right of how the films work out.
Yeah.
The rest of it was a complete face flop, but because it was so sort of, I guess the entertainment factors are what strung people along. It has meant that we've had a new era of where you have, like, you know, the fucking Rock in all these different, like, you know, films, and the Rock's perfectly charismatic, you know, good actor, but he does terrible films all the time.
So many films, like there's the San Andreas disaster film,
or whatever.
There's so many just films that, like, you know, I like. As I said, I like a good disaster film. Even now, I'm like, I can enjoy a disaster film.
Yeah,
as long as there's something good going on with it. Like Independence Day has good things in it, right? There are good scenes, there are good moments. It has many issues, but again, there are bits of Independence Day that I really enjoy. There are bits that I think are actually quite good. Not all of it, but there are bits that I'm on board with.
I don't know. It's not even just its effect on like the disaster like movie thing. It's the entire mostly on the science fiction genre, on everything. It's so like it is as dumb as rocks, and although isolated to this film, that can be acceptable, and I can enjoy this film watching it, and I can sit down and just not really think about it and have it on background or with friends or something, and not even particularly laugh at it, just like laugh with it and some of the jokes and just be entertained. But as a greater statement to the industry, I can't help but hold it in almost contempt, really. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. That's why I agree. Sequential films, not just from Roland Emmerich, where logic is thrown out the window. Yeah, I can see where it's like, many other films since then. Especially, there has not been... I can't think of any good disaster, monster, sci-fi films they just keep getting worse and worse since.
I'm going to be honest. I think this is a 3 or 4 out of 10. If I was going to
rate it lower than Cats and Dogs.
Well, Cats and Dogs that's actually. Wait, what did I give? Did I give it like a 5 or something, or a 4?
5?
I think I gave it a 4 because I think you gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5.
You gave it
4.5. You gave it 4.5.
I gave it 4.5. Yeah, the thing is that Cats and Dogs is not as competently made as a film, but I appreciated that the script was like, again, it's on a difference of scale. Like that's like a kids film. Like, I know this is the defense you used last time, but I know it's like a kids film, that one, and it's also like that one made me laugh more. I enjoyed watching it more because it's so baffling and bizarre. It's way more racist, obviously. This one just has like a few inclinations of like a little bit of sexism and homophobia, but the homophobia is very sort of, it's latent. It's not like malicious. It's sort of just inherent.
Yeah, again, I didn't focus on that.
That's not it's not. I think that's more just to do with the era and the inherentness of it, rather than a sort of. It's not like being mean spirited. I don't think. I might have been being a bit harsh about it earlier, but yeah, it's like I'm gonna have to be honest. I think that. I'll probably give it a 4. I won't give it a 3. I think, like, competently as a film, it is a competent film. But I don't think that script-wise it deserves to be. See, script-wise is what's dragging it down to hell right now. I'm gonna have to say 3.5. I'm gonna have to settle on that. It's a full score below Cats and Dogs because Cats and Dogs was like it was thoroughly entertaining. It was a fun watch. This wasn't it was like I wasn't. I think I said it. I think I said last time. I wasn't miserable watching Cats and Dogs. I was not at all miserable watching this. It's just like talking about it has obviously been quite the endeavor today. We've had to unpack a lot. It's been fun, but I'm happy to see this film go. And never talk about it ever again, unless no, on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I do like this film. When I think about it, what we've spoken about, and I'm like, yeah, it definitely. You remind me of issues. I know it has issues, but you remind me of many other issues. Well, yeah, it's not as good as I think it is. But
Joe, don't think about me when doing your score. Right, I'm a prick. You think about what you think of this film.
I'm still going to be way above your point because I think Independence Day is better than Cats and Dogs. Yeah. So, I'm probably going to give it a 6. Maybe I want to give it a 7, but from what I understand it has many issues. So maybe a 6, but I'm going to give it a 6.5. 6.5.
Okay.
Like, because I want to give it a 7, but it does have many issues. And speaking about it, I'm like, it's. I just still think it's a film on its own. It's still very entertaining and fun, and there are bits of it that I think are actually quite good, but there are bits of it that I think have no logic, no sense, and it's a mixed one. But I still have to give it at least a 6, and I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay.
I like him. I like Independence Day.
Okay.
And I think it does still have some merits to it.
I think I'd still give it like a low recommendation, but it's the barest bones of recommendations. I think, despite my score, we're definitely I don't think we'll agree on that, but I don't think either of us has any particular. Like I can see where you're coming from, and I think you can see where I'm coming from. Like it's not. This was, I think, it's probably been the one we've disagreed on in terms of scores, because obviously we've just started implementing them for this season.
You gave it a 3.5, and I've given it a 6.5.
Yeah. Well, together we've actually created a 10 out of 10 though, so maybe this is the best film ever, and we've finally arrived there. But I don't hate it. It's just I think I have to sort of score it that way because of a grander statement, and also just because I don't like the scripts.
It's the more in depth you go with it, yes, you can pick it apart. There are many issues, but I still think it does have some quality to it. It has some good scene. It's like it's a film that I remember having good. It's the good bits I remember.
I remember as a kid I remembered it fondly and stuff. It was
and I even as if before this whole conversation, maybe I'd give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10, but you've reminded me, you've grounded me.
I've depressed you more.
Yeah, you've depressed me with your criticism, Jack.
I'm so sorry.
But no,
sorry.
I agree with many of your criticisms. I just still think it's verging on, in my opinion, it could be good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, my enjoyment doesn't come from like thinking it's good. Yeah, I don't agree with the it being critically good, but I think the enjoyment factor we both agree on is that it's an enjoyable film.
Yes, absolutely. But
and we don't always have to agree with these. It's more. I think it's more interesting if we don't really. So, but yeah, we got to close it off because happy
4th of July, everyone.
Yeah,
kill those aliens.
Yes, it is 4th of July today. That is when we are recording this.
No, but it will be. It will be the 4th of July.
No, yeah, it is. That is the day today. That totally. Yep. Happy 4th of July, everyone.